Hey, I'm SJ and this is the Menopause and Motherhood podcast. Hey friends, I want to let you into a bit of a secret today, and I think this is going to be a game changer. I think it's going to make your life so much easier. You're going to feel less stressed. You are going to feel in control of the food and what is going on in your house. And I'm pretty sure that this is also going to ensure that you are less likely to waste food as well. So what are we talking about? We are talking about meal planning, because I don't know about you, meal planning really is the bane of my life. It drives me insane. I feel like I have to take so many people's different food preferences and choices into account. And I find myself very often cooking more than one meal for everybody. And I really don't like to waste food either. It's expensive. The cost of living is rising. So I think it's really important that we use the meal planning to really kind of like get a grip not only on our finances, but this is something that we can do to help ourselves to ensure that we are feeding our families some healthy meals, but also thinking about our weight loss if that is a goal, and supporting our body with good nutritious food as we are transitioning through perimenopause into menopause. Now, many years ago, it is quite a few years ago now, considering where we are with this podcast. A few years ago, I hosted a podcast episode, which was a meal planning masterclass podcast. And I also did a workshop, which was all around meal planning. And it was a free workshop. And I had lots and lots of you wonderful people join me and attend it, because I really think that meal planning for us as women often falls on our shoulders unless you happen to be married to a man who is an absolute gift at cooking. Lucky you. I don't. I live with a farmer. Cooking is not his strong point, but he is amazing at other things that I am not. So we balance each other out in this household. But meal planning really can be a challenge, and it can be exhausting. You can find yourself like eating the same things over and over again. So if we can get meal planning right, I really feel that it not only helps you feel like you're in more control of what's going on in your home, it's going to help you to feel that you have a plan for your health, for your weight loss, if that is one of your goals. And also, I really think that when you meal plan carefully and mindfully, that it is going to save you money. And I often hear so many people telling me that healthy eating is expensive, that it's time consuming. But I think here we are in 2025 with all of the digital tools that are available to us. We no longer have the laborious challenge of meal planning, and there are so many tools out there that can help us. But there is one tool in particular that is free that you can use to make your meal planning easier. In the past, I used to use a meal planning process. I had a meal board and I had some index cards. And what I would do is I would write down the names of all the different meals that everybody liked in our household. I usually took about 10 of those meals, wrote them down the card, wrote the ingredients on the back of the card, and then I used to pin the card to the board that I had in the kitchen so everybody could see like what we were eating. And on the back of the card was the ingredients and some basic cooking instructions, just to help people who needed a little bit of additional support if I wasn't going to be around and I needed the other adult in the house, namely Tim, to help me with the cooking and preparation of dinner. Now, we are in 2025 and things have moved on and changed like so much. We really have this tool at our fingertips that can do so much for us. And whilst I'm not always like a huge advocate of everything being done by these digital tools and being done for us, I really think this is something that we can use to really help us and make our life easier and ultimately make things better for us. So what I'm talking about is AI, and I'm sure you at some point have used AI. I know a lot of people use chatgpt.com. It feels really weird for me as a 40-something-year-old woman, like talking about these kind of websites that can do so much. But this really can help you. So I decided one day just to ask this website, this app, whether or not it could do a meal plan for me. And it was like, yes, I can. And it gave me some prompt questions, and I answered the prompt questions. And it sort of took me through this process so that the end result was a 7-day meal plan, which had breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It was using ingredients that I had in my fridge, and it produced a meal plan and a grocery shopping list for me. And it also produced some basic cooking instructions as well. And it turned this into a PDF that I could print off and download. And I was like, my mind was blown. But I was also kind of kicking myself a little bit that I didn't think about this before. Because I've seen all of these things with people getting AI to do all sorts of different things. And I just thought, this is really obvious. Why did I not think of this before? So here we are. I'm going to talk you through the steps that I took to get this AI tool, this free AI tool, to create me a 7-day meal plan with breakfast, lunch, and dinner around my family, and then also based around the ingredients that I had in my fridge. And I'm going to tell you the prompts and things that I used. And if you want to access and just take a look at the prompts and also the result that I got using the AI, I will link this over to my blog, and you can download it and you can take a look at it from over there, and perhaps it might help you, because I think a big part of this process really is getting the prompts right for the AI and really giving it like clear instructions of what you want so that it can work and produce the answers quickly for you. Okay, so here is the prompt that I typed. I actually use this tool on my laptop, but you can use it on your phone as an app. And I did actually try it with my phone using the microphone and using like voice and prompts as well. And that was quite helpful too. So if you want to sort of talk to it, then that can be a good tool to use as well. So I typed, write me a 7-day meal plan for 3 meals a day, including a grocery list and basic cooking instructions for a menopausal woman looking to lose weight with a husband and young children who are picky eaters and do not like veggies. And then I also added, because I think this is quite important for us as menopausal women, that we want it to produce a meal plan that is actually prioritizing protein. We've spoken on this podcast, and I will dig into this again in another episode. But we really know that protein is not only helpful for us in terms of reducing those feelings of hunger, it fills us up, but it's also really important for building muscle, and both of those things are going to help us if we're on a weight loss journey. So I did also add to the bottom of that prompt, ensure that there is enough protein and include quantities where possible. So what I would take away from this, if you're thinking about having a go with this, is really get your prompt clear. Like, what do you want this AI tool to do? I wanted a 7-day meal plan. I wanted it to include breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I gave it information about how many people were in my house, their rough ages and food preferences. So this is quite important, particularly if you've got people who are vegetarian, if they're vegan, if you've got allergies in the home, like anything like that. And then I did also give it an additional prompt to make sure that there was enough protein Ideally, we're often looking about making sure that you're getting around 30 grams of protein per meal. That's quite important. And I did also ask it to give me quantities so that when it was building the grocery list, it was giving me specific quantities of chicken, how many tortillas or whatever it was that it came out with. I had quite a detailed grocery list because otherwise it can be a little bit too general. Now, if you wanted to take this one step further, perhaps you were just planning a meal plan for yourself. Maybe if you had an idea of how many calories you had, maybe if you were working around macros, you could tell it to, break down your macros. If you were doing something like carb cycling, maybe you could give it that instruction to do carb cycling as well. But I really think what is key when you're using this tool is that initial ask. What is it that you want to produce? What do you want that meal plan to look like? And then also, I think it's a really good idea to then include food that you already have in your freezer. So I told it what I had in my fridge, in my freezer, not everything obviously, but I told it the type of meat that I had in the freezer, so I didn't have to go out and buy more things. I also told it about some of the ingredients that I had in my cupboards as well. And again, things so that it meant that I was using what I already had in our home, so I wasn't buying unnecessary additional ingredients. I also told it that we like things, that my family likes things quite mild. One of my pet peeves is literally having like a whole cupboard full of spices and things that you don't use because they just inevitably get thrown away. So I always kind of tell it to do things mild because I don't have a massive spice rack. I don't add like loads of things into my food. I tend to buy like specific rubs or something like that because it's a real bone of contention for me. Spice racks really drive me mad. And I think when you are on a healthy journey and you're talking about like buying healthy food, it's really easy to fall into the trap of, I'm going to buy all of these spices, and then you don't end up using them. So just circling back again to what I said about the prompt, it really is being clear about what you want, who do you want it for, and what are your specifics. And the really good thing at the end of this meal plan that it showed me was some particular sort of points in terms of the fact that it was generating this meal plan for who I had actually asked it to, which was quite helpful and quite important. So at the end, it had this section where it said nutrition notes, especially for menopausal support. It noted high protein at every meal, healthy fats, avocado, nuts, olive oil, low sugar, particularly for breakfast, because we've spoken on this podcast again before about high protein breakfast and avoiding like cereals and things. And then also it's made some notes here about hidden veggies in sauces and dishes. And it actually came up with some really good ideas for that, actually, because my daughter's quite picky. And then it also noted about additional calcium and magnesium sources for bone health, which is really helpful as well. So it included things like Greek yogurt, leafy greens, and almonds as well. But again, if you've got somebody in your house who is, can't eat that sort of thing, then you can tell it. So it really is a fantastic tool. And then after it generated all of this on the screen, it offered to do a printable version, a PDF version. You can ask it to make it look all like cute and fancy. And I just think this is going to be such a helpful tool to you to make your meal planning like so much easier. With a few tweaks, I had like a 7-day meal plan using ingredients in my cupboard in like less than 10 minutes, which was brilliant. And I think once you've got the hang of working with this, perhaps on a weekly basis, it's going to learn your requests as well, because that's what AI does. And you can tell it the meals that worked for you, things that didn't work for you, and you can just sort of build on this pattern using this tool over a period of time. So click the link in the show notes. It will take you over to my website where my blog is, and I'll show you the breakdown that it sort of churned out for me, if you like, so that you can have a look at that and see what you think. And I'll include the prompt and some questions that might be worth kind of like considering when you're building that prompt, because I think that's the thing that you need to spend the most time on, is building the prompt so that you get out from it what you want, particularly if you're using a free version, because they obviously only allow you like a certain amount of like analysis and questions and that sort of thing. So I think if you get that prompt right, you're not having to kind of like engage with it even more, so you can use it for free without sort of hitting any kind of like data limits or, you know, download limits or anything like that on the free versions. Anyway, I hope you found this episode helpful. It was kind of a bit of an eye-opener to me, and has now really sort of made me think about how I'm using AI in terms of my health journey, particularly because we have a lot of like health influencers out there who have built apps and created apps and lead us into this idea that they are generating something that is like amazing and special and personalized to you, but actually really isn't, because they're selling it to you for like 20-30 pounds. So how is that actually going to be like a personal experience for you through an app? And I think what they're doing is using a tool like this and turning it into like an app and something that looks a bit pretty and making quite a lot of money out of it. Now, that being said, I still think there is a huge difference between a generic tool like this and actually working with a qualified coach, a qualified fitness instructor, because whilst this is clever, it can take into account a lot of your preferences, the person that you are. It's still not as clever as a qualified personal trainer, a qualified nutritionist who's working with you on a one-to-one basis specifically. So I would still use professionals if you have the money for it, if you can go down that route, if you're looking for weight loss. And obviously you have the opportunity to work with me if you would like, and the link to that is in the show notes. But this is a great tool if your budget doesn't allow for that, you want some really great help for simple meal planning. This is definitely a fantastic tool for that. As always, I would love to hear your feedback. I would love to hear if you tried this, if you found it helpful, what your meal plans look like. You could maybe share some of your downloads with me. I'd love to see them. We can swap some recipe ideas. Come and find me over on social media. The link to my social is in the show notes in the comments section. Come over to my website. You can drop me a message from my website. One of the things you will likely find when you go through this process is it's going to suggest like breakfasts that are smoothies, that have maybe like protein pancakes. So I have put a link to a really high quality protein that I use. You can get a 10% discount using my link in the code, which is also in the show notes, because I like to help and make these things more affordable for you. I really hope you found this episode helpful. I really enjoyed it. I'd love to see what you get out, what your recipes, what your meal plan looks like. And yeah, I hope you find it helpful, and I will catch you in the next episode.